right here at Aqueduct. Good luck.
Good morning, everyone, and it really is morning. Welcome to Talking Horses. Sarah Obadwi and Annie Sorg, you awake?
Barely,
Yeah,
but
I understand.
it's a little early, but yeah, at least the sun is
I
up
could,
earlier.
I could be home sleeping if I didn't have to be here, but it's nice to be here. Got a 10-race card to look forward to, some turf stakes. As we are going to extend the turf racing into next week. We're going to use just the outer turf course next week. We've got 2 scheduled for Thursday, which that card's been drawn. So we'll try to run a few races, weather permitting, next week, but no more inner after tomorrow, and turf racing obviously winding down, but at least hoping to get in one more week as the weather looks pretty good going ahead. We got a lot to talk about, so let's head to Naira Bets. Use the promo code BONUS200. We'll match the $200 of your initial deposit. Play through Naira Bets, bet any track, anywhere, anytime. We have a carryover, $16,284 in the pick 6. I feel like one horse was covered in the last, not sure. $5,000 late pick 5, hit and split in the late pick 5. Want to opt in for that at Naira Bets. Also, if you're playing Churchill and Gulfstream, and Sarah's been she's been bothering me
We've
about
been
that
talking
Gulfstream
about
card.
Gulfstream all morning.
She's been, it's been days actually since they drew it that you've been saying that Saturday card at Gulfstream.
Looking
Anyway, if you're
forward to
playing
it
those,
all week.
opt in, $15 bonus for that. We've got a show from 12 to 2:30 today. Unfortunately, not showing the later races. As I said, a little thin this week. Tomorrow is like 2 to 4:30. Next week, we get back into the groove of showing the whole day. So this week is a little bit tricky. And we're also on from 8 to 11. I believe this is the last harness show of the year. Try not to.
I'll be there.
Try to get through that. You'll be at the Meadowlands?
No, I'll be here.
Lucky you.
I know.
All right.
Do you know what today is?
Today is November 15th.
Yeah, it's also our last Talking Horses for this year together.
Oh, because
I'm out and
you're
then
out
you're
next
out.
week, and I'll be gone for a while,
Yeah.
including going to Jamaica. Okay, there you
Yeah.
go.
Big
All
exciting
right.
times.
I thought you were going to tell me it was I forgot my friend Hillary's birthday on Thursday. She's not happy with me. Race number
no.
1. Race number 1. What'd you do here
I went to a horse
in
who
this mess?
is probably going to be one that just takes money on the drop-in class and has no proven dirt form as of yet, with Island Charm for Brittany Russell. But I was looking at some stats for this one. Turf to dirt, stretching out, in a New York bred maiden special weight to the maiden claiming. With her 2-year-old maiden claimers going from turf to dirt, she is 7 for 14, 64% in the money, $3.14
All right, give me this
ROI.
stat again.
2-year-olds, maiden claimers, turf to dirt, 7 for 14.
Is it stretching out? Wait, I didn't.
Nope, just turf to dirt.
Maiden claimers,
And then I
turf
get
to
into
dirt,
routing after.
7 for 14.
Yeah.
Okay.
$3.14 ROI.
By any chance, do you know how many of those races were rained off the turf?
Not that many, surprisingly.
All right.
And then
That's quite a
routing,
stat.
3 for 5, 4 in the money, $3.16 ROI.
Okay, that's the stat.
So I thought that was at least worth paying
My
attention
problem
to
with
in
this
a
horse
field
is
with not much going on.
she's never done any running in her races. And everybody keeps betting on her, and I can't figure out why. And she's done no running. Now, obviously, she's found herself in a pretty soft field. It's not going to be a great price. She could certainly win, but I mean, you look through this race, and it's just very, very hard to find anybody to bet on. I mean,
Agreed.
Luciana's Honor probably has the best dirt race of anybody, along with Cathedral Isle. And Cathedral Isle is obviously going to take a lot of money because it's Flavien Prat. And I didn't think either one of those horses did any running in the same race, to be honest with you. So I went to another turf horse, and that was What a Weekend. And I actually thought What a Weekend ran okay last time, all things considered. This horse, you know, it just seemed like sort of came out a little bit, ducked in all the way. It was very green during the running. And you look through the pedigree, and it's probably more dirt than it is turf. So I'm not in love with this horse, but I mean, there's a lot of guesses to be done, and I figured if I was going to play this race, play a horse that did a little running in a turf race, then at least be a better price.
Yeah,
but
I don't blame you.
It's impossible. I mean, you've
Nobody
got the stats.
has a
Impossible to have
wonderful
any form.
opinion
Right.
here about it. And this horse also, there's a stat, great, but this horse has never been on the dirt or gone longer. So
I don't know how you look at this race and go, I really like so-and-so. You know, you just
If you
sort of
do,
find
good for you.
somebody and move on. Race number 2, a big scratch in this race of the number 5, Tough Love Torres. You scratch in the 6, Tamea.
yeah, this is another field where I don't have a super strong opinion, or I'm not in love with anybody in here. And
That would
look,
be
your
a miracle
big,
if anyone was in love with anyone
right,
here.
your big favorite does come out of this race, so that does change things, I think, and what we'll see with prices that these horses are. But I thought that Tamea was at least one that was facing some tougher horses last time out, had run well at this level 2 times at Saratoga with some respectable numbers relative to the field that she's running into in here. And I also didn't know how much pace there would really be in this race, and I thought it was probably either her or the number 4, Roralina, who would be forward.
I agree.
I wanted somebody who was forward at this level, who at least had shown they can run at this level.
Yeah, I can't argue with any of that. The problem with Tamea, besides her being a favorite in this race, is that she's a one-number horse. You know, if you take and draw a line through that 69, 2 back, and I'm not saying you should just always be dismissing starts, and this horse picks up Ricardo Santana. There's plenty of stuff to like. But you take that number out, and this horse is
too
at
slow.
best a fringe contender, and she's going to be favored, and that's a problem for me. But I don't disagree with you. Obviously, she can win this race. I mean, it's hard like anybody. And the horse I scratched into will probably be a little overbet. You've got Flavien Prat riding for Brad Cox, and this is an amazing horse.
Model of consistency.
It's incredible, right?
I
Has
was
there ever
impressed
been a
too.
horse to run 4 times in its life
The
and run the
exact same
exact same
number?
buyer figure every
I don't
single
know.
time?
I think that's rarefied air.
It really is incredible. I mean,
Yeah.
it really is kind of amazing, right? Now, probably running a 50 today won't work out, but
That's
she
what
is
I thought,
second off a
too.
long layoff. She's dropping considerably, and I don't disagree with you about the 4 and 6 being speeds, but knowing Flavien, he's going to be aggressive with this horse.
I think he needs
so,
to try to be.
You know, we'll see what happens. I'm not in love with this horse. If you look at these first 2 races, I'll put it this way: if somebody has strong opinions first 2 races, they need to be right, because otherwise you're just sort of swimming around at sea. Especially with Tough Love Torres, who looked like much the horse to beat,
Who
scratching.
probably would have been one that many people just relied on
Yeah.
heavily. So
Maybe we were copping out with him, so maybe it's better this way.
Possibly.
Because it's very hard to like anybody in this race. I mean, it's just
Yeah.
really hard. We don't have rider changes yet. So
don't.
Dylan broke his collarbone, some
collapsed
ribs.
lung.
Poor
Yeah.
guy. So yes, our thoughts
Out
go out to
indefinitely.
Dylan, and hopefully he'll, be back soon. And that really sucks. Sahin Savachi's out a month or so. Is
Ribs.
Ricardo okay?
I
He
don't-
walked away.
He did. I don't know whether or not he's riding today, so I don't want to say anything
yeah,
about that.
no,
but
I agree, but
Yeah.
we definitely, our thoughts go out to both Sahin Savachi and Dylan Davis. That's awfully rough, and hopefully Dylan's able to get back pretty soon, and hopefully it's not too harsh, but it does seem it's just tough part of the game, no
Yeah.
doubt. Race number 3. So race number 3, I think one of the biggest things in race number 3 is what you do with a horse that you and I picked third, and that's Blue Kingdom, who David has as the morning line, because this is a horse, you look at this horse, right? And Brittany Russell only had the horse for 1 start. But Jamie Ness claimed this horse, so when people talk about Jamie Ness improving horses, you look at a horse like this, and this is his 3rd place finish in the Maryland Millions Classic, where he finishes behind post time. And he's cutting back in distance. I mean, he's just a new horse. He's got a perfect post. And if you take these races at face value, the last 2, isn't he way the horse to beat in here?
yeah, I just thought it was a question of whether or not he tries to work out the same kind of trip where we don't know that we know that he in fact actually does not necessarily need the lead to be effective, but that's been the running style that he's employed over the last
And
couple
he's
of
not
starts.
going to be in front in here.
Where he's had those bigger numbers and been successful for the new connections. I didn't think he would be in front in here either, so that's sort of why I wanted to see it again if he actually took some pressure.
And I want to see it in New York. But, I mean, if you just take it for what it's worth, I mean, this horse might just sit a perfect trip behind some speeds, and there's some speed in here, and just drown the field. But you and I want to see it to believe it. I do not disagree with you. We'll take a look at Past the Hat. This is at Saratoga on July 27th, and I thought about this horse for a long, long time before putting him second, Sarah.
It looks like, at first glance, we're dealing with a one-number horse where you have this standout 82, where he's finishing second behind Capital Idea, but that's a number that has been backed up by what those horses have done coming out of this race. And tap into this in the last start, came back and won with a high number at Keeneland.
This horse ran fine in the turf, too, so it's not as though the race two back is that big a problem.
I think he just had no position whatsoever in that race in between the two, where he was far back early on. That's not really where we've seen him do some of his better running.
He was bad, though, two back.
He did no running at all. I agree with you completely.
He was a little wide early, but Flavian got him in position. He was bad. I mean, I'm not saying, I agree with you. I think he can win this race, too. But, boy, that worries me. He was bad.
I agree. I think that he's running into a field that might not be as tough as the ones that he was facing there.
The one thing that concerned me with him was that July 27th race, the rail was good. And I do think he was very much with the flow of the track and the flow of the race, and he had a lot of things go his own way.
I agree.
And I think the other thing about putting his race two back, well, he ran well enough in the turf. I know it's a different surface, but I think it showed that he's not finished. You know what I mean? He wasn't just a horse that ran one race off a layoff, and then he's going to suck the rest of his career.
He might be more of a turf horse, given that was a wet track, and now he's...
that's fair.
But we don't know that yet for sure.
No, I agree. I think there's a lot of things to like about this horse. I'm totally on board with you. This is a tricky race. I mean, is Ican going to bounce back with Lasix? Did he bleed last time? I loved him last time. The problem is he's really going to have to run better than he's run before. You know, and you're taking a horse and just assuming he bled last time, and maybe he did, and then he's going to improve, but I think he can win in here. I've got him in the mix as well. You know, what do you do with Butter? Butter ran a huge race last time. I want to see it again, but he ran well last time.
Sure.
I took my Matoli. My Matoli had gotten good. You know, his Gotham was good. And I know that Garaman Cornucopian race, that, you know, three-horse field, the figure does sort of stick out a little bit. But maybe he just kind of went a little the wrong way in his next two races. And now he's had some time for Carlos to grow up, a 3-year-old. And he could easily improve on those races and run a figure of around 90 and win this race. And it'll be an okay price, so I took him.
I think this is a pretty evenly matched group.
This is a good, yes, I agree.
Yeah.
This is, I don't know how it's going to play out. But I think, you know, I don't like Tiz Marcus, but he ran a big figure two back. I don't know where it came from.
Trust issues, but he could win.
But he's not, you know, he's at least in good form. It just feels like he's going to be under the gun from down the inside. But I mean, look at David's line.
Yeah, there's a case for everybody.
The biggest price is 8-1, and it's Tiz Marcus. So yeah, I agree. Race number 4. There's a big favorite in race number 4 in Scope, and Scope should be the big favorite in this race. I mean, the horse was justifiably DQ'd first time out. We'll take a look at it, but I also think he ran the best race that day. He just happened to bump into somebody, right? Having said that, he ran well in the Pilgrim. I picked him second. I don't see how you can look at this race and say I'm against Scope.
Absolutely. I think we both tried to go for some better prices that might be a little bit more creative ideas, but I didn't think either of us were ignoring that this horse is way the horse to beat based on the first race, and then not even running poorly second time out in that Pilgrim, where we have seen that play out to be a formful race moving forwards as well.
Yeah, I mean, he's in a way not a maiden. He's already won a race, so I'm not against him. You've taken the 9, who I have third, Boss Henry. I know Lane rode this horse last time. You're back to Pratt. I don't know. This horse... Lane didn't do anything wrong this time. This horse was awful.
I don't know that it's more the jockey switch than anything else for me. It's more that they experimented with the blinkers, and then they take the blinkers right back off with this horse, who was perhaps a little bit further back, but the pace was quicker, so that makes sense for that last race. I feel like this horse just ran well first time out against some horses that we saw go on to win stakes races, to be competitive in stakes races with final score, as well as Here's Johnny, who ran a credible effort in that Breeders' Cup Juvenile Turf as well. I want to see something again for a horse who really did no running last time. But that first race was too good for me to give up.
No, that's more than fair. I'm not going to argue with any of that. I think that's perfectly fair. I just didn't feel like going to a horse as a second choice to try to beat this horse. I wanted, if I'm going to go to try to beat him, get a little better price. And I thought a little at first actually ran really well. And this horse was totally shut off and steadied out of the race. Just a really bad beginning in there. Totally checked out. Was wide the whole way around the racetrack, and frankly, I don't think ran that. Was still even running a little bit at the end, despite trouble at the start, being wide, out of position the whole way. And I actually thought this horse ran pretty well in there for Horacio, so maybe could improve a little bit with a cleaner trip second time out. I don't know who's riding. Obviously, we haven't seen those rider changes yet, but I do think he's interesting. All right, we'll see what happens, race. That's it. Anything else?
I think some will go to Copa de Plata. I feel like I've seen enough.
Yeah, Copa de Plata could win, but
sure.
Yeah, the fourth choice, right. Race number 5, and we'll break after 5. Race 5 probably has one of the bigger favorites on the card today, and especially for the pick 6, which kicks off here on top of your game today. You're making up for yesterday. 16,284 in the carryover. I'm still trying to figure out how there was a lot more money than that bet on Thursday. Not a lot more, a little bit more bet on Thursday, and 6 people hit the pick 6, but that's another story, or 6 plus winning tickets. So we'll look at Master of Arms race 2 back. The only worry about this horse, honestly, is Linda giving this horse away second off the claim for $10,000. You know what I mean? I mean, she is really looking to get, $15,000 of the purse and basically make a couple dollars and get out. That bothers me.
It bothered me too the other day with a horse like Proudfoot, one that she had in the barn before back in 2023, had run against some tougher horses, claimed for a certain price, and then really dropped and cut that price in half. But these horses tend to win, and I keep getting beat by them, and so I don't love taking a horse like this on top, but he might just end up being too good for this field.
I have no argument with that. I don't, he's a horse that a lot of people lean on the pick 6, and even though I picked it 8-6, you're playing a pick 6, he's a bigger lean.
Of course.
But I do think that Grouch is a little bit interesting, and how can I resist betting a horse named Grouch?
Named after you.
I'm going to take a horse that's a big price dropping, and this horse is dropping to the bottom. And I like horses that run at the bottom level for the first time. And they tend to outrun their odds. Now, obviously, his form has left him. But one was a turf race. So, you go to his races 4 back, 5 back, 6 back, 7 back. The argument against him is, well, maybe his form kind of fell apart since he got taken away from Kelly Breen. Now, Tim Mills has only had the horse for one of those starts, so it's not really on him one way or the other. I kind of wanted to give him a little bit of a shot at the drop down as an alternative because, I'm not taking Bold Victory to come from last 2 races in a row.
No.
Not a win machine to come from last, and I don't want that to really happen. I'd rather have at least a horse like the 8 who can be a little bit more forward if I'm trying to beat the 6.
Exactly, and that was my thinking with Cathedral Beach, who did not run that well last time, but I thought could be in better position than he was in that last
I
race.
agree with that, but his last was so bad, and it worries me because all of his other races were out of town, you know?
No, I hear you.
That's what bothers me, But yeah, I agree. He's also run for 6,000. He's run cheaper. And that bothered me. I like the first time at the bottom, but like you, Master of Arms is clearly the one to beat. We'll take a break. We'll be back with the late pick 5 and a couple of stakes.
You bet with Naira Bets. Bet any track, anywhere, anytime. Download the Naira Bets app to play today and get a $200 deposit bonus. Watch live horse racing. Get expert picks. Boost your bankroll with weekly promotions and hone your handicapping skills with exclusive tips and tutorials. Download the Naira Bets app now. Sign up now to claim your $200 deposit match bonus. You bet with Naira Bets.
Welcome back to Talking Horses. Sarah and Andy, race number 6, going 6 furlongs in the turf. We'll take a look at the horse that you have on top, and I have third, one last knock last time out, who ran well behind Silsby, who ran okay to win her next start. A little better, I thought, than this race, maybe.
Yeah, I agree completely. And look, maybe you see the seconds over the last 2 starts, perhaps adding up. And I thought that One Last Knock had a good trip in this race where she was sent to be forward, but then realized that there were a couple of other horses that wanted that position. So then took back, saved ground, and finished second in here. But these two were well clear of your third place finisher. And I think that she's one that's just shown a couple of times now that she has that level of consistency. She can be forward, and also that she may not necessarily need the lead to still run.
Yeah, but she hasn't won without the lead.
Not
That's
yet.
what worried me a little. Now, she
Sure.
obviously benefits from drawing outside. There are other speeds. Alpine Giant has speed. Twirling Lulu has speed. So I'm not sure you're not going to get a contested pace. But I agree, she draws well in there. I just didn't want to take her as the favorite, and I am loath to take horses that won their prior starts at big prices, at much shorter prices. But as we look at,
know, it's not usually
we
your
look at
game.
Long-Legged Queen. Well, I'm going to ask you a question. You can show the race, Eddie. Is this a tougher field than the one she was in last time? I actually think it's a softer field.
Could be. I think it's just a big differential from 4-1 to 14-1, but I hear you. I mean, this horse ran really well last time.
Yeah, and I mean, she's also a horse that should have won a race 2 back. She has a massive excuse in there. She's had some trips. She has good races in the past. And I know, look, you know, it worked out. And she just got up in this race, and I get all that. But I was looking at this race, and, you know, I rarely do pick these horses again. But the more I looked, I said, she's not going to be that short a price.
Sure.
And it's like,
You've given
I
up
don't like,
on Miss Bourbon.
well, I gave her a long time ago. She's just a slow plotter who gets a piece, but she doesn't really win. But she's 1 for 17 at this point. I mean, artistic success. I think she's dangerous, but she's turning back. Turning back on the turf. Joe Sharp is 4 for 44, 9%, 68% ROI. At Nairi's 1 for 12. And I know she's run okay sprinting before, but her sprint races are not as good as her route races.
No,
her
they're
route
not.
races are much better.
I'm with you.
And, you know, Alpine Giant obviously can win, but she's kind of under the gun down there.
I thought she totally threw in the towel, maybe against a
was a
rival that was
contentious pace
decent.
last time.
But I think that she was one that I wanted to see a little more from her last time. But if she gets back to those races at Saratoga, sure.
Yeah, I've got her second. What if she ends up the speed of the speed? And, you know, you've got Willful Mama second. But the problem with her is that she's not very good, and she's going to get way overbet because of Lavian Pratt.
I think that she's one that we don't necessarily know enough about sprinting yet, but at the same time, you see that one figure that is an outlier. She was forward in that race, going a mile, 2 starts back. Okay,
Why
she's
don't
not,
we know about her sprinting? She's run 2 races, and they were bad.
because it's been at least some time, and I didn't think that she was one where maybe there could be some excuses for her where she was cutting back a little bit in distance. I thought she wasn't in the greatest of positions in either of those 2 races, and I don't know. I thought that the race where she was 3rd behind Alpine Giant, it was a slower number, but I don't think that was that bad of an effort.
Okay, we'll see what happens with her. I just thought she'd get overbet with Flavian, but obviously not impossible for those connections. First stake today, the Jockey Club Oaks. And it's interesting, we've got the, and I'll be honest, I hate this race. I think it's a ridiculous race, but at least we've got some good horses with Fionn and Laura Lynn in here, so it does make it better than it normally is, because I don't think there's anything we can do with this race to save it. I don't know why Europeans don't come over that have so much more experience going longer for a race that's got a $350,000 purse. And I think Laura Lynn and Fionn are a little bit better than the average ones. And we'll take a look at Laura Lynn and the Saratoga Oaks beating Evershed. And the thing about Laura Lynn is she has more positional speed than Fionn, and Fionn has shown she can handle the distance with Laura Lynn hasn't. But Fionn was bad last time, and that bothers me.
And also, I don't think Laura Lynn ran that poorly in her first defeat, and I like the horse who ended up beating her in Lush Lips, who got a really great trip in that spot to get the victory in the Grade 1, so that doesn't really bother me that much. And this
She ran
horse,
fine.
this horse has still shown that she is more than capable of showing up with the number like she did in this race, and prior to that undefeated, I can't really fault her for anything. And I also thought, like you, that she would be ahead of Fionn, her main rival in here.
Well, she will be. I mean, unless she doesn't get out of the gate.
Right.
Even if she does, no, she's the horse to beat. I don't have any problem with that. As far as Evershed, who finished second in that race that we showed, you know, I look at her, and I just think she's been quietly improving. You look at her races. I thought she ran fine last time. I know the horse who won was 16-1, but I thought she ran okay. I thought she ran fine behind Laura Lynn in the Saratoga Oaks. A big improvement for her in that race. And for Aaron Delcourt, I just thought maybe she's one that's trending in the right direction, as opposed to Laura Lynn and Fionn that have had full years. Though, I mean, Laura Lynn's only run a few times. I thought maybe she had a lot more room to improve, so I took her at a bit of a price. I agree about Laura Lynn. I think she's much the horse to beat. I don't really like Fionn. We'll take a look at her win in the Belmont Oaks. And it was a very opportunistic win here. I'm not knocking her, but she won this race because of how well Opulent Restraint ran. Because Opulent Restraint really forced Nitrogen to deal with her and didn't give up easily, and it really softened her up to let Fionn win. Now, she beat Nitrogen, who's extremely good, and then she won a mile and 5/16 Kentucky Downs, which is maybe more demanding than a mile and 3/8 here, but they weren't as good. And I got to tell you, I couldn't get over her last race. She was bad. She never picked up a step.
I agree. I think that she's one that if you can come up with some reason for that last race, she's quietly had a good year where she's been underestimated, I think, in the face of a horse like Nitrogen, because she's been right there in so many of her starts. Now, you got the price in that Belmont Oaks, and then she was able to get that victory over at Kentucky Downs. She was a short price last time and didn't get the job done. A little bit of difficulty at the start, but not enough for me to totally excuse that effort. So I hear you. I just didn't really think this race set up for her tactically that well.
It doesn't set up her well tactically, and the problem is fast pace in the Belmont Oaks, fast pace in the Regret. That's even a pretty fast pace if you look at the race at Kentucky Downs, relatively speaking. So she's gotten better paces, and now she's running against Laura Lynn, who may be better than her. And I don't think there's that much pace in the two horses she has to beat, because even if you don't like Evershed, she's no worse than the third likeliest winner in this race. So, and she's going to be well in front of her. Listen, I'm not saying Fionn can't win, but I think there's much reason to prefer the other ones who are much more forwardly placed. And there's just nobody else in here that's shown anything to me.
I thought the 2 was a little bit interesting. Not as a win contender, but here for a good time's been running against this kind of competition and at least showing up over the past couple of races. Does she have a move forward? I don't know, but I thought that she would still be in some sort of position to pick up third.
I agree. She's the third or fourth likeliest winner.
Yeah.
I'm not going to argue with that. I think that's perfectly fine. We'll see what happens in the Jockey Club Oaks, the third race of a ill-fated turf triple. Well, it's just it was a good idea that didn't work. And part of the problem with these late season distance turf races is if the Europeans come, they'll dominate us. And if not, you have horses that just haven't really run the distance. There's so much guessing involved.
Yeah.
And, you know, it's just asking 3-year-olds to go 11 furlongs in the fall. Not a lot to prep for that. Race number 8. So we'll take a look at Longpour finishing second last time. And obviously, if Roofer hadn't been in that race, there's a good chance he would have beaten Man in Finance. But Roofer's in this race again. And that worries me a little bit.
And that's completely fair. I think that he was one that I wasn't quite sure how much to follow up on that effort where he improved so much at Saratoga in breaking his maiden, going from that first start to his second. He did regress, finishing second to National Identity, but then I thought that he at least showed that that race was not a complete outlier in finishing second here. I thought that now drawing the rail, he kind of has to go more so than Roofer, but I agree.
Roofer's quick.
It could be contentious.
He's quick, and that, you know, I agree with everything you said. I think he's the worst to beat. I think he's run well in those races. I have no problem. But the race he won, he was on the lead.
He's going to be an even shorter price now.
With Roofer in there. So, yeah, I'm with you. He's way the horse to beat here. I have no argument against that. But I want to bet on 3 Bs because you've got a horse for Linda that sort of ran a surprisingly good race last time, and she immediately moves the horse into a tougher spot than non-winners of 1 New York bred. So she obviously feels like this former 25 claimer has kind of turned things around.
Absolutely.
And he ran last time. You know, I thought this was a very nice effort by him. Is he going to have to get better to beat Longpour? Absolutely. But I like Linda when she's a little bit aggressive. The horse will be a fair enough price as an alternative, and I can't make Skytown as the alternative. I can't make Share the Loot as the alternative. I can't make Roofer as the alternative. To me, this is the only alternative I can play against Longpour.
Yeah, I don't love the cutback necessarily for Corvus, but at least this horse has run well against some okay company on the circuit before. So that was who I kind of wanted as
Corvus?
Yeah.
When's he run well? You have to
He's
show me.
run
Those
okay
races.
behind horses like Sand Devil, Cyclone State. It's been a while. But
Okay, second beaten 12.5 lengths. You know, when they get beaten 12.5 lengths, they usually run 8th.
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't
Good
know. I
luck.
thought that if I wanted somebody that was a little bit fuzzy, at least he's faced some okay company.
All right, we'll see what happens in race number 8. Longpour, one that a lot of people will also be leaning on in the pick 6. Race number 9, I thought was a very, very tricky race, the Knickerbocker. And as we look at Air Recruit, who's supposed to be the speed along with Dear Dad in here. We'll take a look at his Oceanport. I thought he ran fine in there. And, I'm not going to hold a race against him at Kentucky Downs last time. I thought he was kind of the worst to beat, but how confident are you in him getting the mile and an eighth?
That's a fair question. And look, he seems to be the type where we have those races where he's shown he can be forwardly placed, and that's where he's been more effective, even though he did break his maiden sprinting from a little bit off the pace. I just thought he would be the likeliest speed in here. He draws to the outside of the other speed in this spot. I can forgive the last race, not having that early position in the same facet. He was 20-1. He was not ever really going to be a factor in that spot.
It was a money grab.
And I just wanted somebody who I thought was going to be forward in here.
Yeah, I got no problem with him. I mean, obviously, I just don't know about that. And I think that Ohana Honor is a more likely winner. Obviously, he's 7-5. It's not an intelligent comment. It's an obvious statement of the obvious. He's a little bit annoying, too. He hasn't won a race in quite a while, right? Since April of last year. He's really a horse that wants more distance.
I was going to say he's cutting back.
But he did run well enough at 1:70 when he finished second to Laganos, who seems to love Kentucky Downs. That was an okay performance. I thought he was a little bit more likely to win this race, but he's 7-5. The other is 3-1. I don't have a big problem. They're the likeliest winners of this race. And I don't. Is it Trickery?
Trickery.
I did not love Trickery's last race.
No.
I thought he should have gotten second. And I'm sorry Activist didn't run here. I wonder if he got hurt again, because I would have thought he would have run in here. But maybe Chad's going to wait for some other spots for him, give him some time. I don't know. He's had a lot of time. Most of his time has been spent relaxing. I thought he ran well enough considering it was a 4-month layoff. And, you look through his races, right? Soft turf at Pimlico. The Maker's Mile, he actually ran okay in the Maker's Mark Mile in that race.
I agree.
He's got the races last year. I think the mile and eighth is going to be okay. Maybe he's a little better shorter, and he'll be the third choice in this race. And I thought maybe he could build second off. It seems like Graham's horses have been running extremely well. They often seem to run really well towards the end of the year, and I just took him as the alternative.
I think you could make the case that he is the most class-tested overall.
Yeah, he is, but his recent form is
to this.
His recent form is the problem.
Right, exactly.
But he's got to improve off of that. I want to make a little case for Signator, who I've always kind of liked, but he's not a horse that gets better with distance either.
I agree.
And we'll see, as a trainer, is 2 for 6 off the claim in turf, but he's 1 for 5 in routes. Who knows? Took a horse from Shuggy, not an easy move to make. It happens in the Knickerbocker, which used to be the big race on Election Day. Race number 10, let's take a look at Isadora Duncan, the horse that you have on top, coming from the outside post. And I agree with you. I think she's the horse to beat. We'll show the start and then the finish. And I thought for a horse that he almost fell off at the start, this horse ran pretty well.
And it says that she hit the gate. Well, she kind of stood still in the gate for a second and had that stutter step start. Then she's far back early on. I thought she still never really stopped doing some running, at least, in the body of this race. I love that she's towards the outside yet again. Not necessarily, and she did go wide in here, as you can see.
Flavian's pretty good about getting position.
Sure, and I think that he would have gotten better position in all likelihood with her if she got out of the gate.
She's also green, the way she's lugging in on him here, and now she's, I mean, I don't love a lug-in horse drawing an outside post, but you'd like to think with a race under her belt, she'll be more professional. I also like the fact that she was able to angle out then, and the race was kind of falling apart, to be fair, at the end. Sharon, do you know the Isadora Duncan story?
No, tell me.
Isadora Duncan was a famous dancer.
Oh, okay.
100 years ago.
Yeah.
And she died, probably didn't watch, is it Bad Sisters is it on Netflix or Apple or something? Because they basically steal the Duncan story. She got into a sports car. I think she was dating a road racer. I think this is in the 30s.
Yeah.
And I know this because many years ago I went out with a woman who was was really into talking about Isadora Duncan, and she had a long scarf on. I think she always wore long scarves. And it got the car in the wind. It was a convertible.
Oh, no.
In the wind, it blew and it got caught in the axle and it broke her neck, killed her.
Wow,
Yeah,
that's
sort of
a wild way to go.
Well-known story of Isadora Duncan.
Interesting.
Anyway, race, I put the horse second. I had him second. I would have scratched in with the 4 coming out. I just didn't want to put this horse on top at a short price.
Completely fair.
I don't think this horse will be a longer price than Sue. And, we'll look at Sue's last race. I actually thought that Tide of the Time came back and ran respectably, equaling the figure the next time out. Once again, it seems like Graham's horses are running. Horses seem very logical, a little bit more forward than the 12. So I just took this one as the other horse, but they look like the right two horses in here, don't they? I guess Delightful Darling. Mark Cassie's numbers stretching out aren't bad, but these feel like the logical two, unless you want Libero, who is a half to 3 turf winners, the Chad Brown first timer, but they're not very good.
No, and also with 2-year-old first-time starters, turf routes at NYRA, excluding Saratoga, he's 6 for 46 over the past 5 years. But when you look at his second timers, it made in special weight turf routes at NYRA, excluding Saratoga, 30%, 65% of the money, $3.71 ROI, which points to the 12 more.
It always used to be the case when Chad first started training that he would really gear up with him at Saratoga. No surprise, you get a lot of attention up there. It changed a bit, but it's interesting that it hasn't changed that much, obviously, based on that stat. Sarah, thank you so much. Thank you for watching. Head over to NYRA Bets. That's your present for watching. Use the promo code BONUS200. We'll match $200 of your initial deposit. We have a $16,284 carryover in the pick 6. That'll start in race number 5 of our 10-race card. We've got a 5,000 hit and split at NYRA Bets, the late pick 5. Playing at late pick 5, you will want to opt in for that. I'm going to do it right now. We have a $15 bonus on Gulfstream and Churchill. So if you're playing them, get to work on that. And we have a couple of shows. We have 12 to 2:30, the 2nd to the 6th. And, we have an hour before the show. Now
we do.
Right.
Yeah.
We couldn't start 11:30.
We're starting with the
which
second
means we'll
race.
probably start late. 8 to 11 tonight for the Meadowlands, the last harness show of the year. We're done. Thanks again. Chris Griffin's up next with the scratches and changes, and, of course, the rider changes as well. Enjoy your day at the Big A.
You bet with NYRA Bets. Bet any track, anywhere, anytime. Download the NYRA Bets app to play today and get a $200 deposit bonus. Watch live horse racing. Get expert picks. Boost your bankroll with weekly promotions and hone your handicapping skills with exclusive tips and tutorials. Download the NYRA Bets app now. Sign up now to claim